It was a quiet evening at Bright Future Academy when something strange happened. A girl named Ada appeared in the middle of the room, covered in dirt. Her school uniform was torn, and her face looked sad. The girls in the room screamed and huddled together in fear. "Please, Ada," Mary sobbed, "we are sorry." But Ada only stared at them with cold, empty eyes. 2 months before this night, Ada had been a bright, hardworking student who just wanted to succeed. Ada was different from her classmates. She came from a poor family in Ajegunle, and her school supplies were not as fancy as the others. While her classmates had expensive bags and notebooks, Ada's father bought her books from a small shop in the market. One day in class, Mary, one of the richest students, whispered loudly, "Look at her calculator. It's not even a scientific one. She probably bought it at the roadside market." Ada heard them, but she ignored them. She had worked hard to earn a scholarship to Bright Future Academy, and she would not let their words hurt her. During lunch, Ada always sat alone in the library, eating the jollof rice and plantain her mother packed for her. The other students preferred the expensive food in the school cafeteria, but Ada loved her mother's cooking. One day, Mrs. Johnson, the librarian, told her, "You deserve to sit in the cafeteria like everyone else." But Ada only smiled and said, "I like it here, ma. Besides, I must study hard to keep my scholarship." Her parents were so proud of her. Her father had even saved for months to buy her school uniform, even though it meant delaying repairs on his shop. Ada was the best student in her class. She always had the right answers, and her test scores were the highest. But this made Mary and her friends hate her even more. They poured water on her books, hid her lunchbox, and made fun of her cheap shoes. Once they even tried to trip her on the stairs. But Ada never complained. She just focused on her studies, dreaming of the day she would become a doctor. Only one person, Blessing, the chaplain's daughter, was kind to her. Blessing sometimes sat with Ada in the library. But when Mary and her group threatened Blessing, she stopped talking to Ada too. The day before Ada's life changed forever, the principal announced that she had been selected to represent the school in the national science competition. It was a big honor, and Ada was very happy. But as she walked up to collect her nomination letter, she could feel Mary's group staring at her angrily. Later that day, she found her science project destroyed in the laboratory. A note was left behind. It said, "Know your place." That evening, as Ada helped her mother prepare dinner, she thought about telling her parents about the bullying. But when she saw how tired her father looked and how rough her mother's hands were from cleaning houses, she decided to keep quiet. The next day, Mary and her friends did something unexpected. They invited Ada to study with them after school. Ada was surprised but hopeful. Maybe winning the science competition had made them accept her. But her hope disappeared when they led her to the woods behind the school. They pushed her into a shallow grave they had dug earlier. As she screamed, they laughed and threw dirt over her, burying her alive. Ada tried to fight, but the weight of the soil was too much. Her last thought before everything went dark was, "They really did it. They buried me alive." That night, Ada did not come home. Her mother paced around their small room, worried. "Something is wrong," she kept saying. Her father went to the school twice but found nothing. When they called the police, the officer said, "Calm down, madam. Sometimes these rich school children go to their friends' houses without telling their parents. Call back tomorrow." But Ada's parents knew their daughter was not like that. The next morning, they went to the school. The principal said, her classmates said she left after classes ended. When Mary and her friends were asked, they lied. "We invited her to study with us, but she said no and went home," Mary said smoothly. Days turned into weeks. Ada's father neglected his shop to search for his daughter. Her mother stopped going to work, spending her days crying and praying. Their neighbors in Ajegunle helped them search, but they found nothing. "These rich people's school," a neighbor said. "Why did you send her there? They don't like poor people's children." Finally, a detective named Mr. Okon started investigating. He interviewed students, but most were too scared to talk. Then Blessing, the chaplain's daughter, whispered, "They were horrible to her. They bullied her every day. But please don't tell them I told you. My father needs his job." 3 weeks after Ada's disappearance, strange things started happening. Mary was in the bathroom when the lights flickered. A cold wind brushed against her neck. Then, in the mirror, she saw something that made her freeze. Written in red letters were the words, "I'm back." She screamed. Later, in chemistry class, she found another message on her desk: "You buried me, but the truth won't stay buried." That night, Mary and her friends gathered at her house in Ikoyi, scared. "Someone knows," one of them said. "It's impossible," another whispered, but she was shaking. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the room became freezing cold. Then, a voice came from the television. It was Ada's voice. Ada appeared in the room, covered in dirt. "Please," Mary sobbed. "We are sorry." But Ada's ghost moved closer. "Sorry isn't enough. You buried me alive because I was poor. Now, you will confess." The next morning, all 5 girls walked into the police station and confessed. "We didn't mean to kill her," Mary cried. "We just wanted to scare her. But she struggled so much, and the dirt, we kept throwing it." The police found Ada's body exactly where they said it would be. Her parents wept as they finally brought their daughter home. The whole of Ajegunle came out for the funeral, and market women closed their stores to mourn her. The trial was quick. Despite their parents' wealth, all 5 girls were sent to juvenile detention. Their families offered the Ades millions in compensation, but Ada's father refused. "Can your millions bring back my daughter?" he asked. Bright Future Academy established the Ada Ade Foundation to give scholarships to poor students and created strict anti-bullying rules. In detention, the girls were haunted by what they had done. 1 week later, Mrs. Johnson, the librarian, was closing the library when she saw Ada sitting in her usual spot, reading peacefully. "Rest well, girl one," Mrs. Johnson whispered. "Justice has been served." Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe.